Welcome back, everyone, to Late Night Snacks. If you are here to kiki and spill the tea on our newest RuPaul installation with apparently the naked troupe. We are going to discuss RuPaul's Drag Race Revue, Vegas Revue Live. Bam. With that being said, we are going to discuss episodes 1 and 2 tonight because we're a little late up on the game. So we're going to make sure to discuss 1 and 2, and then we will be coming at you guys Fridays at 5:30 Pacific. No, 7:30 Pacific, 9:30 Central on Fridays to discuss the latest episode. So we will be back with you guys this coming Friday at, like I said, 7:30 Pacific, 9:30 Central. You can figure out the times in between. I'm one of your beautiful hosts, Irish Melly. With that being said, this is the beautiful DeWanda, and
Hi,
this
everybody.
is that guy with some naked friends.
Well, yes, we have naked.
Join the naked troops.
And let me just apologize to everyone before they're like, "Oh, fix your lighting. What's wrong with your green screen?" Blah blah blah. Okay, everybody, my eyes. Yes, you're going to see through my eyes for this episode. We had a technical difficulty. I thought I wasn't streaming on this device. I put on green eyeshadow. I was like, why not? Take advantage of it. I never get to wear it. Let's wear green eyeshadow. And then my device started working. So here you are. You will be looking through my eyes as we kiki and spill the tea.
So without further ado, that guy, would you like to take the reins?
All right.
Let's announce the cast.
First off, just the premise of the show, in case you didn't know, in case you're not watching it, is basically Real World meets Drag Race. This is not a competition. This is a behind-the-scenes actual reality show of the making of RuPaul's new venue show in Vegas, which is going to be a residency. We don't know the outcome of that now. There's going to be a residency, just like Cher had a residency, and Elton John, all that stuff.
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears, basically bringing the girls of RuPaul's Drag Race live on the strip every single night. And the show documents the 5 girls who started the journey together, and behind the scenes, the drama, the good, the bad, the ugly, up to it's going to go through COVID. From what we see on the previews, it's going to go through the shutdown of the strip and how that affects everything. So I think it's fascinating.
I do
the show's
too.
very honest from the start.
It's going to be interesting to see how it's impacting, like you said, Vegas and the strip and everything, with everything going on. It'll be an interesting inside look of the inner workings of how they're putting a show together during this time.
And as far as the reality show piece of it, and we'll get into the storylines, but it doesn't seem as contrived as like some of the others, like Real World. It seems real, kind of just honest, just following, what's unfolding. So I think it's pretty neat. Now, granted, people have their storylines that they're following. But it doesn't seem as manufactured. Like, we know a lot of storylines for like Real World and Housewives and stuff have been like fictionalized. This doesn't seem so. So we'll follow along. We'll see. I'm not sure how many episodes this was. I thought this was a mini season kind of thing, but now I'm not so sure the way it's playing out. I'm not sure how many episodes it's supposed to be.
So why don't we announce the cast?
Okay, the girls on the show. Well, of course, RuPaul is present on the show, which is great to see that he's there, that he's present.
Well, it takes us back with our latest installment of Drag Race, which was Canada's Drag Race, where we didn't really have that RuPaul involvement. So it's nice to now go back to some RuPaul involvement.
And to see, we'll talk about that when we get to episode 2, but to see RuPaul in his business form and just focused is a very interesting side to see him of.
Yes.
You also have Jamal, I forget his last name. He's the director of the show. He's been on RuPaul's Drag Race for a long time.
Co-director.
Jamal Sims?
Yeah, co-director of it. Jamal Sims. And,
Jamal Sims.
And you have the cast. And the cast is Asia O'Hara, which is taking an interesting role. We'll talk about Asia in a minute. But then you have Naomi Smalls, Derek Barry, Vanjie, Evie Oddly, and
wait. Let's go back and say Vanessa Vanjie Mateo.
Vanjie.
Because we have to. I'm sorry. I am still all for the love of the fact that I love that Alexis Mateo is Vanjie's.
I thought that
her drag mother.
I thought that Vanjie's inclusion was going to kind of just be contrived, but she is perfect for this cast. I fell in love with her all over again. She's really the fun, the apple of this cast, because the rest of it's kind of getting dark here and there. And Vanjie's been the light of it. We're episode 3.
I thought Vanjie was going to try to make it more about Vanjie.
Yeah, it's not. It really hasn't been.
Didn't. Not yet. Not yet.
So who else?
We're getting into Her Story 3. Yeah. But I thought about really the beginning of this has been about Derek, which has been very interesting because Derek has been the Vegas girl that, known as the Britney impersonator. And this has really opened up the doors as almost like a Derek Barry, behind the scenes of his life, because his 2 boyfriends are also featured very heavily in this. And that is Nick, who is a costume designer for many years. And then we have Nebraska Thunderfuck, who was a drag daughter of Alaska when they did the makeovers on Alaska season, and has since taken up drag and ended up in the relationship with Derek and Nick since then. And
they live in Vegas.
Yes, they live in Vegas. And so this is their home. This is their, their background. And the show's really opened up.
Just so everybody knows, that's why there's more involvement with these 2, because it is at their home location. We spend a lot of time actually at their home.
Yeah, it's really gone around Derek's story. Is really kind of where the narrative is opened up. But each of these girls have been chosen for this cast. I thought, what an odd pairing. But they're all there for a very specific reason. It makes sense. This cast makes sense when you see it play out. It's crazy. You got Derek, the Vegas residency girl, who's experienced in that, and whose home this is. You have
who's going to bring in crowds who can't see Britney's residency or because it's over now and whatnot.
And you have Evie Oddly, who is the natural, just showstopper.
I love her.
You have Vanjie, who is the crowd favorite. You have Cameron Michaels, who is a Vegas showgirl. And then you have Asia O'Hare, which very interesting. Asia's taken on a very different role. They brought her on to be this MC, motherly type overseer of the group, kind of like the den mother of the group.
Yeah, I was going to say very den mother-esque.
Yeah, I don't know how Asia was chosen to fit into this. There are several people who could have done this exact same role, but Asia really has fit into it. But I think a lot of this has spawned us into a darker side of Asia, which we'll see when we go through. She's really been the crux of a lot of negativity, just from her, her short temper and her involvement. She seems to get involved where she doesn't need to get involved, but we'll talk about that. So, first episode just introduces the cast, who they are, why they're here. They're excited to be here. It kind of introduces what the show's going to be about, and it just kind of sets the stage. Then we start to get into the first conflict of the show, which is going to be that Naomi Smalls and Derek Barry continue to have conflict post their season, which was season 8.
Yes,
8. And we're learning that Naomi Smalls is a bit of a diva. She's a bit of a Naomi Smalls.
Right. A bit is an understatement for Naomi in the first 2 episodes.
You're starting to see that Derek's really the kind of innocent bystander in the side of this, seeing that a lot of this negativity put on Derek is really just.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, as me and Dawn watched it, I'm not a huge Derek Barry fan, as I know Dawn pointed out. She's not either. But the thing is that I felt bad for Derek because Derek was very much the little man in the middle of these 2 very towering women at one point, which, I know we'll discuss the apology and why, but just even, it was like, you felt bad for Derek. Like Derek just actually had the best of intentions to get everyone together.
And he wants everybody to get along. And
I think Derek.
And I think he's trying to force his relationship on other people just because, not in a bad way, but because he wants everyone to get along because they're going to interact one way or another.
Yeah. Right. And Derek is about family. And he talks about his past and how his family around him has kind of fallen apart. And that's something he doesn't want. And he's very, very yearning for a cohesive family unit. And so, granted, it's kind of like you said, kind of in your face a bit and kind of like, roll it back a little bit, dude. People aren't quite understanding you. But I think Derek's problem stems from he never got respect from the other Rue girls in his season. Derek came in as
And they still kind of pointed that out in the first two episodes.
I'm Brittany impersonator. And when he tried to do drag in a drag competition, he kind of failed miserably in this season. His participation in the competition was really kind of all over the place, and it was pretty bad.
Because it was still Brittany, just a different outfit.
Different outfit.
It wasn't Derek in a different outfit. It was Brittany.
And if you rewatch season 8, you see Derek's confidence just continue to crumble.
Well, we saw even in All Stars 5 at the very beginning.
Yeah. So, but I did feel bad for him in the beginning of this. Naomi just really wouldn't let go of that childish kind of, you're right, I'm wrong kind of thing. And it kind of balloons into this whole thing with Nebraska. And Nebraska is another one that doesn't have a lot of huge respect in the drag community because they felt that Nebraska got all the notoriety of Alaska Thunderfuck without being a Rue girl, without being part of the show. She was just on for that one challenge, that one makeover, and she got Alaska's type status right from the jump. The other girls had to work very, very hard to get up even close to that level, and Nebraska just kind of jumped into it. And that's not Nebraska's fault. Nebraska took the best opportunity.
Right. That by no means is her fault whatsoever. Do
not get me wrong. Nebraska's going to be on one of these seasons of Drag Race. I guarantee it. At some point.
They're going to happen because there's so much talk about her. And now I think that was the start of letting her have more of a scene role in live. Because they could have cut her parts. They didn't need this beginning of the drama. They could have just said there was drama.
The problem with Nebraska is Nebraska does feel as if her status is set as a Rube girl, and it hasn't been earned. And so I can see where the conflict comes. And instead of Nebraska kind of really
let's be clear. What we're saying is Derek threw a party at his house the first night that everyone was there to get everyone together, to get everyone spending time together, getting to know each other and just hanging out because his house is in Vegas. His obviously his boyfriends are going to be at his home, and Nebraska happened to be there at that time. I don't believe we saw Nick.
No, we didn't.
But Nebraska
Nick was there.
Oh, not the party. Nick has been in the shows. But Nick was
at the party. And Nebraska and Naomi had a little bit of shade thrown, where it was kind of like Nebraska didn't have the right to throw the shade that she drew because you weren't there.
So what gives you the right to throw that shade?
Yeah, because she threw her shade about her Tiffany Pollard from Snatch Game on her season. Nebraska's never been on a season technically. I mean, she, like you said, had that one episode. So Nebraska didn't have the right to throw that shade. No. And then it just became a shade throwing competition from there. And then they try to, Derek decides to take everyone out on the town after a rehearsal, after a practice, so that they decide to go gambling, go to the casino in drag and just have a good time, the 6 of them. Well, Nebraska ends up calling, and Nebraska talks to Derek and wants to shows up at the casino and comes in drag, knowing that all the other women were in drag, which did upset them. But I can also understand why he would have to fit in case they did let him stay. He wasn't sure. But he came to just, be there to support Derek, but he came to apologize to Naomi. And it wasn't good enough for Naomi. It still wasn't enough. It wasn't good enough.
Here's where the problem happened. Is previously at the house
and that's party. What let me say that's what we were talking about, because both of them in heels when they're already towering, standing with poor Derek right here in the middle, just standing kind of bickering back and forth a little bit, when Derek's like, everybody just get along, please. I just want everybody to get along. And you just feel bad for him. You feel bad for him.
Well, the problem really stems from Aja, and this is where Aja
because then she came over. The apology was basically accepted and done, and then she came over snapping off, not even knowing the apology happened.
It started at the house party. Aja overstepped at the house party and started jumping all over Nebraska once Nebraska started in on the Snatch Game kind of thing, when this wasn't even Aja's fight. Asia's fight to begin with, and it complicated everything so intensely because Asia is so in your face and she's so boisterous and she's so commanding of the room that when she got irritated with the whole thing, she took over the energy of the fight, and she left never resolved with her angst about it. So she was so Asia was still pissed off about the whole thing. So when Nebraska shows up at the casino the next night and she's trying to apologize to Naomi, and Naomi's just kind of like, let it be, just let it die. Here comes Asia, not accepting the apology, but just let it die already. Here comes Asia, just refueling everything. Now we got to go and take Naomi out of here. And it's like, Asia, stay out of it. And then what Asia's interaction does is it sets Cameron and Evie off. And Cameron and Evie are just like, I don't want to be in the middle of this. I don't want to be part of this. So instead of Derek and Nebraska working things out with Naomi, either good or bad, just letting things just be as it is, Asia has turned this whole thing into a nightmare by her involvement. And it's
right back to the
so
beginning,
unnecessary.
like you're saying.
Yeah. So that's
So
that. It's still unresolved at this point. It's still, we'll talk about episode 2, kind of where it goes, but it's as of episode 1, it's still unresolved. The other thing that leaves us off of the cliffhanger for episode 1 is Evie, because Evie has a disease which has really a joint degenerative disease that's really like tearing away the ligaments of her joints very rapidly.
Well, and it causes the stretchiness of her skin, the flexibility of her joints.
And
we find out
she's able to do all the things she does. But like you said, all of the stunts, she said that's the hardest part of being a stunt queen, are for her, and because it's killing her literally, and she wants to do what she loves to do. And
and a very alarming thing and very emotional admittance to her on the show is Rue starts talking to her because Rue notices she's having a hard time, and Rue is like, what does the doctor say? And we find out Evie is hiding. She's refusing to go to the doctor. She's ignoring it, just hoping that she can continue.
Hasn't been in 10 years. 10 years has not been to a doctor other than for like a sexual health checkup and things like that, she said.
And Rue was just as shocked as the audience, finding this out. And she still to this day, Evie's continued to just ignore it, to move on. We'll see how that develops, but it's sad because it's like a piano player. Like, say you're a grand piano player and that's your life and that's your passion, and you lose your hands.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen to Evie. Her passion is being this.
Well, and that's what she was saying, is that when she was about 15 years old, having a doctor tell you this is basically it for the rest of your life, it's only going to get worse. Like, that's terrifying for a 15-year-old to hear. Like, my God, you're telling me my life is over before it's even began.
And what's sad is I'm so understanding of what she's doing. I'm so understanding of just ignoring it and just moving on. But the sad end result is probably going to be she's going to get really hurt.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
So sad.
To know that all of her passion is going to go into it, and it's going to fail sooner than it should have, because she's probably going to get severely injured at one of these shows, and that's really sad. But bless her heart.
Knock on wood.
Exactly.
18 minutes.
So that was the first episode. Second episode continues, opens up with that cliffhanger. We get resolved that Rue's telling her you need to go to the doctor. We find out that she didn't go to the doctor. And then we get into a little bit more.
She said she hadn't gone yet. So
yeah. We get in a little bit about the rehearsal, and the rehearsal is not, as typical, is into dress rehearsals are not going well. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of missteps. Rue comes and watches the final dress rehearsal. It's a mess. They get a lot of notes. They get a lot of things. And then we get into eventually opening night, which goes well. But in the middle of all this.
No. Opening night does not start out well.
Oh, yeah. No. That's the end of the episode. We get through opening night.
That's episode takes place 2 weeks. Everything happens 2 weeks before the opening in the first.
We've got the Naomi Derek thing kind of is a bit resolved a little bit, because in a round circle.
A little. They just didn't focus on it as much, I think.
Right. Rue asked them, "What's the deal? What's the
right?" They put his head in it,
and they tell Rue what's going on. Rue's kind of, this is childish. You guys learn to put your family life, your personal life away from your professional life, and focus. This show's important to him, that he wouldn't put his name on something like this, and they kind of get the reality check that they needed to just. Refocus. Well,
I like that they do this little, like, Rue does this
thing,
talking for each one of you, and I'm saying what you should be saying to each other. So this is what it's going to be, and now it's said, so we're done.
Yeah.
But it was so funny, but it was right. It was true. It was right. It was what needed to be said. And that was who needed to say it to get these girls to move on from it.
Right.
So the three main points that we cover in episode 2 is, one is that Cameron's anxiety around her performance is really just almost detrimental to her show. She's really hung up on this that she can't do it. So there's a little bit into Cameron's story.
The
We start
salsa.
getting into her, the salsa dance. We also get our real in-depth look at Asia, the dead mother, Asia, the control. We see her backstage just railing into these crew members. And even the other girls are embarrassed by it and don't want to be in the dressing room by it. I mean, Asia's just relentless, just going in on these crew guys.
This type of power that I feel like she's suddenly starting to abuse because she
majorly abused. Yeah, I imagine we're going to get somewhere with this. And then we have who's the other one? Oh, Naomi the diva. This was shocking.
The diva.
The level of unprofessionalism that Naomi shows this group, and just really just is tarnishing her reputation left and right. That the fact that
and that's hers, Rue's reputation.
Yeah, and that's a big no-no.
It's gross. It's gross to watch. I mean, her level of just, I do not give a shit. I mean, she's late for opening night. She's late for the red carpet for opening night. She shows up just after it's kind of done, and she even talks about, well, I'm glad I'm late because I spent too much time in the mirror making sure that I look this beautiful, and I'm glad it's like, and I love it when Evie told her, this is not the Naomi show. We'd appreciate if you become part of the ensemble and participate. You know, because of COVID, I don't know how long this is going to last, but to show this and to show this to Naomi's fans out there, and she's got a lot, and to show, you know, a real darker side to her, it's gonna have some problems with it
backlash
because it's ugly. And the other girls as a whole are really not appreciative of it at all. We also get a little bit more into Derek and Derek's home life and talking about his relationship with his mother. I guess his relationship with his mother was always rocky coming out. And then when his season of Drag Race aired, then he got the wrath of everything. He got the complete shutdown from his mother. He got the whole biblical Leviticus type texts and stuff from his stepfather. And you know, Derek lashed out and he posted all this stuff
after that
online. And so we're learning that Derek's family life is very complicated, and I think Derek is searching for something he doesn't have. And for a lot of gay people, that's very prevalent, and you need to either accept what you do, find it in other ways, or move on. Because I think what he's yearning for from these people, he's never going to get, and it needs to. It's interesting to watch from an outsider's perspective, you know, being in similar situations. But and then we also get more of Nick and Nebraska at home and seeing, you know, how that relationship works. I think that the show's doing a really neat job of highlighting his threesome relationship, because a lot of people had a lot of questions about it for a long time. You know, how does the relationship work and blah, 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 blah. And people are just so curious of what they don't know. And I think this show is doing a really positive look at, you know, the healthiness of this.
Right. I think people just think a lot of times it's like these, you know, these people who live in Utah and have multiple wives and, you know, treat them like trash and you sleep with one each night and this and that and, you know, all this stuff. And it's like, no, it's a very different type of relationship because they have different types of beliefs.
Yeah.
Just like
it's very supportive.
It's not necessarily what you believe. It's what you believe for your relationship. Because anybody who believes the same thing, it's going to be very different in their relationship versus your neighbor's relationship. You know what I mean?
We've got opening night happens. Naomi finally shows up. There's some backlash with that, but opening night goes off without a hitch. They do what most professional performers do. They have bad tech rehearsals, which is a given that you're always going to have in performance, and then you do a wonderful opening night. And this really boosted their energy. Rue is excited. Everybody's excited. It's like it's going to be this huge Revue success. We know that COVID's right around the corner for this. And I wonder how many shows they're going to get in before we get there. But the show has already showed us in previews that they're going to air that. Next week is about Vanjie. We're finally going to get into some Vanjie stuff, and it looks like everybody's trying to hook Vanjie up, and Vanjie's really unreceptive of it. So we're going to learn a little bit about
Yeah, because a good portion of them are in relationships.
Yeah.
Except for her.
And Vanjie's always looking for love. Vanjie's always kind of a little tramp. She's she's always got a little thing on. Vanjie was dating Brooke during.
Vanjie's never looking for love. Love finds Vanjie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, she was the one who said she wanted the notebook and not a Post-it, remember?
Yeah. But Vanjie is such a bright light in this cast because they're showing a lot of darkness to a lot of people, and I think that Cameron brings the level down a bit just to keep things kind of simple with that, and then Vanjie just adds to the the fun, the smiles. So it's a good balance. But that's where we are. It's a great show.
That has been RuPaul's Drag Race Vegas Review Live, episode 1 and episode 2 of what we think is season 1, depending on how it goes. So we're going to say season 1, episode 1, and episode 2, just in case.
Yeah.
Because technically it still is. But yeah, do we have a wand of the day?
No.
No?
I just have a fiddlestick today, yeah. But we do introduce Naked Draco to the family. Naked Draco's in the house.
With Hairless Potter.
With Hairless Potter.
Yep.
All right, guys, that has been it. That has been the Kiki. We have spilt the tea. We have chit-chatted.
If you haven't seen it, watch it. Check it out. VH1. It's a great show.
We'll be back next Friday. With that being said, we love you. We love you for being here. And if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen?
Preach.
Amen.
Preach.
Good night, guys.
Y'all hear Nuka?
Good night, guys.